Rights are based on laws created by local, state, and federal governments, which dictate how individuals can control, benefit from, and transfer the property. Strong property rights provide an incentive for individuals to protect and manage their property over the long term because they're assured that their ownership rights will be protected against unjust or unlawful actions by other parties. Property rights are defined as exclusive right to determine how a resource is used, exclusive right to services of a resource, and the right to exchange resources at mutually agreeable prices. The United States was established on the principle of an individual's right to own property. These strong property rights have been foundational to the success of the American economy since its founding. Clearly defined property rights encourage increased productivity, reduced conflict, security, and surplus. Where property rights are ill-defined or unprotected, results can include scarcity, disputes, and violence. In the United States, individual states are vested with the authority to set laws regarding private property. However, the U.S. Constitution provides protection from unreasonable seizure of property in the Fourth Amendment, and provides a person may not be deprived of personal property without due process and just compensation, the Fifth Amendment. In the United States, the greatest threats to private property rights for forest landowners comes from federal, state, or local government regulatory actions that may result in seizure of property with compensation for a public purpose, or the restricting of certain activities, such as timber harvesting, that may diminish the value of property. In the case of the latter, these regulatory takings are becoming more commonplace with enforcement of federal laws such as the Endangered Species Act and the Clean Water Act. Forest land descriptions refer to legal property descriptions which may or may not always be easily located on the ground. Having a survey performed on property lines is the best way to locate boundaries on the ground. When disputes about property lines cannot be resolved by mutual agreement, they're typically handled with legal intervention. An easement is defined as the non-exclusive privilege to use the land of another. Right-of-way easements are corridors of a specified width that are acquired and used by another party. One example of this is where utility companies acquire easements to construct, operate, and maintain utility lines. Trespassing involves intentionally entering upon a land belonging to another individual, or by causing a substance or thing to enter upon that land. Encroachment refers to a dispute on boundary line locations, as well as to buildings or other structures that may be partially located across the property line. Timber trespass occurs when a logging crew harvesting on one parcel of land crosses, intentionally or unintentionally, the boundary and cuts trees on the neighbor's property without permission. Most states have laws that govern the payments required to the neighboring landowners for trees cut without permission. Liability is the state of being legally responsible for something. There are several areas of liability common to owning and managing forests. The general liability of ownership is the duty owed by forest landowners to individuals who enter their land, and it varies by the legal status of the party. The three categories of individuals who enter a landowner's property include trespassers, licensees, and invitees. Although prescribed burning is a legal forest management tool, landowners and their agents are responsible for protecting the public from any hazardous conditions that might be created as a direct result of the fire. Liability usually occurs in two areas: escaped fire and smoke. Landowners are responsible for containing the fire on their property and are responsible for the damages if that fire crosses onto a neighbor's property. Smoke represents the greatest potential liability from prescribed burning. When smoke drifts onto roadways and reduces visibility for the driving public, accidents and injuries may occur. As a result, landowners must exercise great caution when burning to ensure conditions are appropriate to minimize the risk of smoke drifting onto roadways. Timber theft is the act of removing or damaging timber belonging to another. This can occur in a variety of ways, including cutting across property lines by mistake, outright theft of standing timber, misclassification of raw materials, and the rerouting of materials from the intended destination. Absentee owners or landowners who do not live on the property have a greater risk of timber theft since their visits to the property are often infrequent. Landowners may reduce the risk of timber theft by establishing and maintaining clearly visible boundary lines, enlisting neighbors or hunting club members to help monitor the property for any unpermitted activity, and inspecting the property periodically.